simply wasn't good enough. So prior to this statement, the same day I believe it was May 8th, Ultra voluntarily withdrew their bid for a contract for the following year. Ultra will not return to Virginia Key in 2020. So as to where Ultra will end up next year, we don't know yet. It's interesting because there's so much talk about Ultra wanting to be kicked out of downtown by residents, business owners, but I can assure you that there are more people who want Ultra to remain in downtown due to the benefits of the economy in South Florida. So commissioners in the Miami City Commission have talked about bringing Ultra back to downtown. There was talks about bringing it to South Beach and replacing it for spring break. There was talks about raising the age to 21, which would suck. But we don't know what's going to happen yet. There's a meeting on May 27th to discuss the matter further, and I'm really curious to see what happens. Mr. Finnegan can vouch for the fact that I email him almost every time something came out about Ultra, and got super excited about what could possibly happen. So we're gonna have to see what happens next year. Regardless, I plan to go, and I'm super excited for that. There's talks about the Homestead Speedway just outside Miami, where other festivals, if you've ever heard of Electric Daisy Carnival, EDC, that takes place in Las Vegas, and they've done an Orlando edition prior to Vegas, and it's possible that Ultra could end up at the same location that EDC Orlando's been held. Well, other festivals have also been held at this speedway, so we will have to see what happens. I want to thank you for listening to me today, and I want you to take away a couple of things. I believe that Ultra should stay in Miami because for people like me who eat, sleep, and breathe dance music, Ultra is influential. It's where this festival started. Not only did this festival start here, but one of the things I didn't talk about and save to the end is Miami Music Week and the Winter Music Conference. This is a week-long conference of DJs, producers, fans, keynote speakers, you name it. They come to Miami to talk about dance music, and they give master classes and speeches and collaborate with the public to basically come together for the basically grand finale that Ultra is to Miami Music Week. Miami Music Week has been going on for about 35 years, and it would be truly devastating to see Ultra leave Miami. As somebody who dreams of playing the festival, planning on going to the festival, my love for this has been fueled by Miami. Miami has a huge nightlife scene as it is, especially in the dance music scene, with Vegas-style nightclubs all over downtown Miami. Wynwood, South Beach, North Beach, you name it, there is a nightclub on every corner you turn in. And Miami is much like New York and LA and cities that don't sleep. Right? There's always something going on. So what I want you to take away is that Ultra is bigger than the music. It is a community. It is a love for each other and coming together under the skies of Miami for dance music. And it doesn't really matter what the topic is that if you love something so much, like I love DJing, producing, and dance music, then you damn well better go out and do it. Because if not, then you're doing something wrong. I strongly believe that I did CAPS, and CAPS was a calling for me because I was not a classroom learner, and I was able to learn about something that I truly love. My plans for next year are to attend Suffolk University and study communications with a focus in digital media. And I hope to take that with me into the festival scene where I can become a communications manager and a festival designer in the festival industry to put on festivals like Ultra. I want to open up the floor to questions, and you can also see all my work on my website at Ultra360, that's spelled wrong, .weebly.com. So thank you. Any questions? Yep.
Why did you choose to study Ultra as opposed to other music festivals?
I chose to study Ultra primarily because it was one of the first festivals that I, in the dance music scene that I had heard about. And from a young age, obviously, I wasn't able to go because it's an 18+ festival. So that weekend every year, I would sit and stream Ultra live, and I would get, just so giddy and excited because, I got to watch this event go down in history. The 20th anniversary last year was huge for me because one of my favorite groups, Swedish House Mafia, who broke up at the 15th anniversary, came back together for the 20th anniversary to close out the festival. And it's just like, when you get those chills, you're something so excited about. I don't even know how to explain it. It's just such an amazing feeling. Yeah.
I have a question. How do you see the relationship between business and art in your love for dance music? Because on the one hand, you're a musician, you're coming from this as being a producer, DJ, but you said that what you want to do is sort of become a festival designer.
So my primary goal is to become a touring artist and to be playing these festivals. If I'm a firm believer, if you can dream it, you can do it. But I also want to have a backup, and my backup would to be the back end of these festivals. And I think business and art tie in very close to each other because the art of the music industry is all about networking and connecting and knowing people. And if you were here for Miles's presentation, he talked a lot about music authenticity, and he connected with a lot of artists. And so he's actually going into music business, which is a very important part of the music industry because there's a whole business side to all of this. There's really business in anything you do. Yeah.
What are your opinions on Fire Music Festival, and do you think something like that could ever happen to Ultra?
So Fire Festival, if you know about it and if you've heard about it, you've seen the documentary, was an utter failure. And it failed because Billy McFarland lied, and he tried to make this exclusive festival that was on an island and was gonna be this oh so great thing with headliners. The fact of the matter is Billy McFarland cheated people out of a lot of money. Now there are people who have talked about Ultra 2019 being Firefest 2 with the fire on the palm tree, jokes like Colonel Sanders, the fact that people had to walk over 3 miles just to get back to the mainland and find alternative transportation methods. Do I think Ultra is going to end up like that? Absolutely not. Ultra is arguably one of the biggest festival entities in the world, next to Tomorrowland and Insomniac Events, who put on EDC, and being in 30 countries all over the world and hosting Ultra Singapore, Ultra Miami, Ultra South Africa, Ultra Beijing. They also host Road to Ultra events that are precursors for those big monumental events. So I don't think that Ultra will ever go down that rabbit hole. They're just too successful. I'm a firm believer in every path to success is paved with failure, and a road with no bumps leads to nowhere. So Virginia Q is a bump in the road for Ultra, and we're going to see where they end up next year. So Finnegan.
So related to Dr. Wood's question, the idea between like money and business and kind of like the art, what was going on with the Colonel Sanders thing, and how did he get on a stage when you have so many incredible, influential artists who maybe deserve that space more?
The Colonel Sanders situation was a public relations stunt. Ultra and KFC had a deal that Colonel Sanders is not real. And so some alias DJ put on a Colonel Sanders outfit and a marshmallow-like helmet to play a 5-minute set as a public relations stunt. And so it really pissed off a lot of people, myself included, because that 5 minutes could have gone to a number of up-and-coming artists who deserved that slot. And so the whole situation was that it was just a public relations stunt, and Ultra and KFC got some money out of it, and those numbers are not public, so I can't give you that.
But does that change the way you feel about Ultra? I mean, almost as like a company or as an organizer, knowing that there's something like that? It's all about the music.
It definitely upset me and kind of hindered my view a little bit on Ultra, but you got to make money somehow. and you gotta do things, you know, that people may not like to spice it up. And, you know, I think at the end of the day, you know, as frustrating as it was that, you know, a 5-minute slot out of the main stage was taken for Colonel Sanders, it was funny. You know, I'm gonna laugh about it and be like, oh, Colonel Sanders showed up at Ultra, great. You know, we see him on TV holding up Aunt Jemima in a dancing commercial. Like, at the end of the day, you know, it doesn't, you know, really hinder my view and affect what I think. Any other questions? Yeah.
After what happened with Avicii, are you worried about like playing music festivals can be worse for the artists sometimes rather than being better for their careers?
That's a really good question. So for Avicii, it's a really personal topic for me, being that that's kind of where my love for dance music started. You know, I fear that with you know, any artist. Avicii is somebody who was doing 270 shows a year, and had unlimited access to alcohol and certain drugs, and developed a problem. Now, that can happen to any artist, but I don't know. I don't know where I really see it going. You know, obviously it was a tragedy that Avicii passed away under the circumstances that he did. You know, he certainly left a very, very large impact on me and a lot of the people I'm close with in the dance music community. You know, he's in the process, his family is in the process of releasing his post-humanist album. And it certainly isn't the same. You know, I talked about this with Miles earlier, is that, you know, Avicii's not here to interpret that anymore, unfortunately. And you know, it sure was a shame, but I would hate to see it happen to another artist.
So as you were talking about this, you said that Ultra voluntarily terminated their contract with the city of Miami, and you showed us some of the cons of the festival. I mean, was there anything that actually happened that would legitimate a concern to get rid of a festival like that for as big of a community and contract as Miami? So the contract that Ultra withdrew with the city of Miami was kind of Miami as a whole. So that meant that that means that Ultra is set to leave Miami as a whole. And I think the big reason for that is the events of this year and the fact that Ultra, you know, had some logistical issues. But with any new place you go, you're gonna have logistical issues. You know, fortunately, the first night of Ultra, as much of a shit show as it was, they corrected it almost immediately. Day 2 and 3 were significantly better. We didn't see transportation issues. And a lot of people who were upset the first night retracted their statements. But, you know, as spectacular as Ultra was this year, Virginia Key, you know, proved to not be the place that wasn't for them. And they voluntarily withdrew their contract and their bid to stay in Miami because of that. You know, would Ultra love to stay in Miami? I'm sure they would. Would they love to be in Bayfront Park again, where so much has happened? I wouldn't doubt it. And we're gonna have to see what happens with this meeting coming up next week, and whether the commissioners find a way to keep Ultra in Miami. Yeah.
Obviously, there are a lot of concerns in terms of public safety, especially